Hi. Uh, yeah, I'm smiling. So, you ever find that piece of data that you've been looking for and then it just falls right in your lap, and you're like, says it perfectly, exactly the thing. It's kind of like when that DJ plays that perfect set, on KUNM's Freeform in the afternoon, and you just go, oh, yeah, there is still good music and good writers and stuff out there. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like when your partner looks at you with that look. It's kind of like that. Maybe, or even that stranger you just met. You know, maybe not that good. Okay, but it's still good. Okay, so this is the psychosynthesis video. So okay, we should start with just very briefly outline a bunch of stuff from previous videos. It's a psychosynthesis. Okay, so we've got the basic stuff in idealism versus imperialism. Uh, that means idealism starts from an idea first, and it imposes that idea on everything, whether it's math or any other science, any observations that you could possibly make about anything. Humans have been very prone since their early origins to come up with a view often, well, okay, the view that things occurred due to a supernatural cause came later. Before that, if you watch the video, which I know some of you did, I'm sure, on the see, we're talking about the myths and storytelling video. Yeah, so that outlines some principles of idealism and how that all came to be. Where the original way of understanding was a much more direct, you know, earth-based way of understanding, rejuvenation, fertility, right? That all became so perverted, so perverted in modern society. Um, so, but empiricism, exact opposite. You use lots of little pieces of observations and things collected. You build your understanding from that instead of, it was caused by this thing over here did it. That's never the way it happens. There's always lots and lots of little variables and factors. So that's our basic problem with idealism. Okay, my basic problem. Okay, some people assert this thing about perfect forms and how we can't find any perfect forms really, and we've just made that up, which is a good point. Um, my notes here. Um, that can work in some areas, right? But we've come to have pretty good approximations. Hey, even though we can't say exactly what it is or all the things that are involved, the millions and trillions of factors that make up life, well, unfortunately, we're never going to know much about that. But we can approximate. Approximation is different than idealism. Idealism is not saying an approximation, it's saying this is absolutely the way, this is how it happens every time, regardless of anything, and I decided that, or he decided that, whatever, somebody decided that it meant something. Plato decided when he wrote the Republic. He just decided. Here, he's just going to say, here's what these things, morals and values, okay, that that's idealistic, right? He didn't come up with that from his observation, a scientific methodology. No, no, that was other people, not Plato. So anyway, a lot of people did have the idea, like Plato did, about perfect forms, and lots of other mathematicians. Euclid, so great early Heraclitus, right? You know, I mean, okay, some of that works in some areas, okay, but many others it does not. We've had to reevaluate the way things work because we had it wrong. Okay? So anyway, so another factor I've talked about a lot is the selectivity factor. This becomes this idealistic approach, which is embedded in us. Okay, in billions and billions of people on the planet operate solely by idealistic methodologies. They're not going to change. I've discussed that quite a bit, in those word and concept usage videos. The selectivity factor, okay, there's that. Talk about that a lot. We got the social factors of selectivity, conformity, centrally based policies started after agriculture 12 to 50,000 years ago. This problem's been getting worse. Okay, so anyway, we got that and some of that. Okay, my model of using the central peripheral nature of pretty much all systems of life, right? Central, peripheral. So I got videos on that. Central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Why are those different? They're different because they look for different indicators. Yeah? That's another way, looking at the wrong indicator, and too selective, all that. Okay, just a couple examples. When computers were being developed, okay, it's a big debate. Hey, what number system should we use? A lot of people said, don't use set theory. What did we do? Henry Poincaré, I've mentioned, other mathematicians too. No. We might find out that was a bad choice, just like we found out when cars were being developed, like when computers were being developed, cars were being developed, at that same time almost. But cars a little earlier, I think. But computers go back a little ways. Especially you got the abacus. That's a very sophisticated instrument. I don't know how to use it anyway. I've seen people do complex math on those little. It's that thing, it's a little rack with little spools, and they flip the little things up and down. It's called an abacus, right? It's got like these spools of little discs, and you count by moving those discs around. It does work. It might turn out better than the computer. We probably should have stayed with something like that. But anyway, the car, anyway, electric or gas? Why do we choose gas? I'm sure there's some political, industrial reasons why, economic reasons why. But I think also there's that sensationalistic factor, right? Like when people, those poor people back then, when they're sitting in the car with gas, oh man, this is great. Wow, this is fantastic. Wow, and then they sit in an electric car. It's all nice and calm, right? People don't do well. People need a lot of stimulation, if you haven't noticed, and they like the more sensational it is. So that could be the main reason why we went with gas vehicles, because they're so smelly and everything. Oh, smell those fumes, baby. Oh, isn't that great? Yeah. Haven't changed much, have we? No, we have not. Okay. These problems, these decision-making methodologies of observation, asking questions, have been, they're very old. And the more idealistic one wins out in human society. Sorry to say. But we got some interesting research on that in a sec. Okay, go straight to the poll. This was done by Monmouth University. I think that's in New Jersey. I looked at it a little bit, just briefly. Has a very good reputation, Its average grade point average of the students is like 3.63 or something. They're doing pretty well at that university. They do a lot of polls there. They have a polling institute, the Monmouth University Polling Institute. has been recognized as the fifth best in the nation out of more than 500 survey research organizations. Okay, the name of this poll and report was "Most Say Fundamental Rights Under Threat." That's the title. Most Americans. It just says most Americans say fundamental rights under threat. So they did a little study. Lots of interesting stuff in there. Lots of interesting stuff in there. Of all kinds. But I'm just going to read this. Since this relates directly to what I've been saying, I had to have, this was the perfect little piece. Here's from the report. One of the interesting things in the survey responses is that Republicans are more likely to use the phrases freedom of speech or right to bear arms, or simply give amendment numbers when describing threats to their fundamental rights. Democrats' worries are more likely to reference specific restrictions, such as book banning. Also, Democrats' top concerns focus on the Constitution's implied privacy rights, such as women's reproductive autonomy, or societal norms, such as keeping children safe from gun violence. So, just to summarize there, Republicans, according to this poll, Republicans are more likely to use the phrases, an overall catchphrase, to refer to something. Okay, so that means they are not able to really refer to the actual evidence and events that they're talking about. They think they do because this is the way they think. Idealistically, they just, some catch-all term, it speaks to them volumes of ignorance, some little term, and to them that just fits in perfectly with their entire methodology of everything, rather than actually looking at the actual conditions, observing carefully, taking notes, asking questions, trying to build up from the bottom what we want to talk about. Build it up. You have all these things that are involved in this problem, okay, as opposed to this is what the problem is. I'll tell you what it is. But then it turns out it's empty. They don't have any evidence. They don't have anything that they're to bring to the table. Superficial babble. I read this paragraph. I just said, it's that perfect little thing. I was like, yeah, I know that. I know that's how they do it. But then you find it right here. Somebody did it. Somebody did a study. They happened to ask that question. Those questions, they got that information. And, that's what makes good polling, right? Good questions. That's what makes good science. Good questions, right? Not, this is how it is. This is how we see it. My freedom of speech is being taken away. Really? Can you give me an example of that? Yeah, you know the faces. I see them. It's a blank face because they're blank inside. I talk to people like that. I got this one idiot here that I live with right now. Fucking Andrew Kovac. Guy's a fucking moron. He's Republican. He's religious. Try to talk to that guy. He has trouble with conversational English. I'm not kidding you. So anyway, this little paragraph goes on. It is also worth noting that a small but measurable number of Republicans are concerned about Fourth Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment infringements. It certainly isn't good for democracy if there really is widespread abuse of government search and seizure. It can be just as destabilizing, though, if people believe this is happening when it's not. This is how we get to events like January 6th. How? Because people are perceived something through an idea that has nothing to do with the actual events. That's how they do things. They put it up here, freedom of speech, okay, and stuff like that. Search and seizure, okay, okay. And while that is a problem in some areas, I think a lot of people have shown how we have that problem in a lot of, large multinational institutes, in terms of privacy of information, that kind of thing. I mean, that's not so much a problem in the government. People claim that to be a problem in the government. Okay. I mean, we've had so many different things, with information. But look where most of the issue is there is privacy. It's not from the government. People argue, all kinds of different stuff. Of course they do. And it's valid. Some of that's valid. But I mean, most people talk about these large, data gathering that's going on, not just by the government, but most other freaking internet trollers and all of that, right? That's where the problem is. It's not with the government. Government's doing that. Of course, they keep track of all kinds of information. They always have, right? They're just keeping track of more and more information, just like they always have. Okay. But the businesses, online businesses, institutions, other than the government, I think we're seeing a lot more problems there, aren't we? I mean, I've certainly listened to a few interviews with some people about that, and they're talking about larger problems than the government. But anyway, I mean, there are problems with the government, obviously, mostly because of these problems, these freaking problems here. Selectivity, right? Wrong indicators, right? Of course, that's a serious problem for the entire world's population. Hey, and we'll just throw this in there too. So if the entire world is having the same problems, okay, with misrepresentation of things, miscontextualization of things, poor social relations, is a worldwide problem. Is that due to a particular government? No. Is that particular to a certain social system? No. To a certain technology? No. To a certain virus that came around? No. I mean, we got problems in all those areas, but no, these problems are much bigger and go back much further than all the different factors that we think they are, right? Because the entire world, right? Somebody sees a problem with this economic theory, and they come up with another one, they try that, but we still always end up with the same problems. Always. Always. So we must not understand the problem yet, right? Yeah, of course we don't, because we got a bunch of freaking people like this on the planet. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I got this other new device here. I think it's capturing things a little better. I don't know. I don't really care. Do you?